I thought the addition of void shells to Warframe would be the most exciting thing this month, but after watching the last dev stream where DE lifted the curtains on a lot of delicious details regarding the incoming operator and focus school's rework, I think the way we play Warframe is about to change in a significant way really soon. By the way, how are you guys doing? Had a great week so far? I'm looking forward to playing any games besides Warframe this weekend? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to read them. So yeah, about today's video, it's pretty much going to be a commentary piece, the kind of content you would have running in the background while you do homework or taxes. Okay, maybe not something really important like taxes, but you get the idea. Just put me in the background. Also, timestamps are in the video description if you need them. I put this video off for a few days in order to gauge players' reactions and feedback regarding the proposed operator and focus school changes in the last dev stream. There's a lot of promising changes, but the one that got me really excited almost immediately is that the network processing for operator actions and commands basically being reworked from a host authoritative system to client authoritative, which in theory should reduce latency by a lot. They could scrap everything else but this one change, and I guarantee you way more players will actually start using operators when playing in pubs. And if you think about it, it does make sense to go back and ensure the fundamentals are taken care of so that the end goal of improving flow and encouraging players to swap more frequently between operator and Warframe can be achieved. I'll tell you right now, this change, if it does end up reducing latency to the point of not really impeding gameplay anymore, will definitely change the way I approach missions. I'll still be lazy with my loadouts, but it's nice to know I won't have to rely on Arcane Energize for energy regen, because switching into operator mode when playing pubs could just lock me out of the action with a headless child sometimes. TBH, there's not a whole lot to discuss with regards to this re-engineering of the operator. I just thought it was worth mentioning. We'll just have to cross our fingers and hope the final implementation is a success. Some of the other tweaks though, Void Strike, Void Dash, and Void Blast, I'm a little skeptical about those. Starting with arguably the Eidolon-sized elephant in the room, if you will. A Void Strike is gonna go from the duration-based charging mechanic we're all familiar with to an active ability with a 40-second cooldown. That cooldown is what got most, if not all, Eidolon solo hunters and speedrunners concerned. While the damage output is no longer tied to how long you stay cloaked, doing nothing, the time it takes the Eidolon to get back up after having one of its limbs broken is about 15 or 17 seconds if I'm not mistaken. It's definitely not 40 seconds long, which is the issue here. There are ways to mitigate this, like a good squad that communicates with one another, which honestly is how Tridolon bounties are intended to be played by the devs themselves, I believe. But the point still stands that solo tricap hunters and speedrunners are gonna run into a wall they can't power strength their way through. Worst case scenario, the 6x3 runs will be barely possible, but since nothing is set in stone yet, one could hope for a slightly lower cooldown duration, though I would certainly not hold my breath on that one. Overall, if I had to choose, I think taking the cooldown route is probably a lot less worse than having to stand around in the plains charging a multiplier that, although virtually scales to infinity, is in a way unreliable. This is just my take. You guys should definitely let me know how you feel about this down in the comments. Next up is Void Dash, or Void Sling, which is what it's going to be called after the rework. How it works is tapping or holding jump while in the air will send out a Void Sling, which the operator will then travel towards on release. The Void Sling's distance depends on how long you hold jump for, which means it behaves similarly to an ability that you'd have to charge. You will no longer be able to just tap the spacebar or press jump to dash to a set distance like we all do now. The developer's goal here is to make the system more fun, more controllable, and a lot less spammy, if that makes sense. Which I get, and I understand this will definitely take some getting used to. And hey, personally, I'm willing to go through the hassle if it really does mean Void Dashes evolve into something a lot more controllable, because in tile sets like Kuva Fortress, you know what I mean. But I'm also aware that sometimes DE loves animations that may look cool but in my opinion impedes flow. How the necromechs come to a stop after dashing, for example. Also, if you were to examine the dev stream footage, I have a suspicion that long-range dashing with your operator could either end up feeling clunky or straight up unusable even. Which also reminds me of the time when Jupiter got its massive tileset update and how players instantly trivialized the terrain's challenges. Maybe the devs are trying to counter stuff like that, I don't know. I'm not an optimist most of the time, but if DE do end up crafting Void Sling into a sort of dance between the Warframe and Operator, which judging by the dev stream footage, the potential is there, then I think this would be one of the best changes to come to Warframe. Just don't turn it into what Idzal's first ability is now. Finally, Void Blast is straight up getting removed from the game. I have a feeling not many of you are going to be concerned about this, but for the scenarios where Void Blast is required, like with Kuva Guardians, using the new Void Sling mechanic, or amps, will be the way to go. So what happens when you tap E or the quick melee button then? That input will now instantly transfer you to your Warframe to form a melee attack. I honestly don't have a lot of input here. Not having to rely on Void Blast for Unairu Wisp is great. I'm not concerned about Kuva Guardians, so yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how well this new quick switch mechanic gets implemented. I'm really interested to see how these changes will interact with existing mechanics and items in the game. Will some amp setups and arcanes that are pretty much deemed useless in the current version of the game see a perhaps dramatic increase in usage after Angels of Zariman? I'm inclined to say yes, but of course your opinion matters to me as well. What do you guys think? Are you excited, or do you think DE's out of their minds for that 40-second cooldown on Void Strike? While you type out your comments, please do feel free to join me on Discord. Invite link should be in the description. Otherwise, I'd like to just thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.